Welcome everybody. Hello again to people that were with me for Module 1, where we did an introduction to getting ready to teach the papers. And like I said to you then, what we're going to be doing in Module 2 is looking more deeper really into assessment. We'll do an overview there are some people joining us today who missed Module 1, so we'll go over just a few really pertinent things that I just want to clarify and help refresh from a couple of weeks ago. But the majority of today's session is going to be looking at assessment, which I know you're all super keen to know and get your teeth into, so you can start teaching your candidates. First of all, thank you. Some of you have already done it, but could you just type into the chat if you are new to the course, if you're already teaching, what options are you teaching, or what are you going to teach for paper 1 and paper 2, and then I can have a look at that later. There is only me, so I'm not going to be able to look at questions or anything in the chat while I'm going through the presentation. We'll do paper 1 first. I'll show you the agenda in a second. I do plan on having a break of 5 minutes between paper 1 and paper 2. But I probably won't have time to look too closely at questions there. So if we can have a look at questions for paper 1 before the break, I will. But if we're sort of going over time, then I'll leave it till the end. I will try and get round to questions. If I don't manage to answer your questions today, because we've run out of time, please contact your local representative or email Mark Batty, and I will be going over that at the end, what to do once today's over. You're definitely not on your own, so any questions that you have, there will be opportunities for you to find out more. But I know it can be useful sometimes for questions to be answered, but I'm sure you can appreciate I can't sort of stop and do that as I'm going through the presentation for you. If you do have technical issues or anything like that, pop that in the chat. Someone will be monitoring that and looking out for that. Please make sure that you download the materials, especially the additional materials, because you'll need those. They won't be coming up on the slides, so there will be documents. There's quite a few documents for you to have a look at, sample answers, and have a go at marking them yourself. So you'll need to make sure that you've downloaded those, please. Okay, so what are we going to be doing today? Thank you for putting those in the chat as well there. So I'm just going to run you through the agenda. I'm going to obviously emphasize again that this session is about looking at the marking, what the mark schemes are requiring your candidates to really demonstrate to us as examiners when they're answering their questions. So we'll do an overview of the exam papers and the assessment objectives, and we did look at that last time, but for people that weren't in last time, you'll find that useful. I will go over that very quickly though, to be fair on the people that have done that before. You will download the PowerPoint so you can look at that, and if you have any specific questions, pop them in the chat and hopefully I'll have time to address them. We're then going to get into looking at paper 1, looking at the question types, looking at some practice marking. That's why you'll need those additional materials downloaded. That should take us about an hour, and we'll then have a 5-minute break, come back in, then looking at paper 2, doing the same thing, going over the question types, doing some practice marking. But I do want to allow enough time at the end to go over the support that you have from Pearson. I think even though I won't tell you it's what we did last time, but even if you did hear it last time, it's worth hearing again because it's really useful information. But I will do it quickly. And then there'll be hopefully time for some questions before we close. So that's really what we're going to be doing today. So let's have a look at the aims and objectives, just really as they're set out on here, really. I want really my main purpose today is to make sure by the end of the session that you understand the assessment objectives for the qualification if you don't already, you understand the question types, you understand the mark schemes. So I'll break the mark schemes down, we'll go through and really dig into those mark schemes for the qualification, and then you can have some practice using them. We'll just do it, we'll look at levels. I'm not going to ask you to be giving a specific numerical mark, but I will be asking you to sort of think what level you'd give it. I'm not going to be picking on people to come on and give their answers, don't worry about that, but it's nice for you to know that yes, you are in that right level, or find out, you know, how you go about working that out. And then lastly, we'll look at some slides on what support Pearson provide around assessment and where you can find exemplars. And I really went on about that, if you remember last time. There's some real, hopefully you've had time to go and have a bit of a play around with that and you've seen how good it is. But I talked last time about the schemes of learning that they had on there. I can't remember if they're called schemes of work or schemes of learning, but you know, the same thing. And other things. I'm really going to go on today about the exemplars they've got on there, so you can see some answers and how that fits in with the mark scheme. Okay. Right then, so understanding assessment. So we're going to this is the same breakdown I went through on module 1. So most of you will be familiar, but like I said, there are a few, but I am going to go through it fairly quickly. If you do have specific questions, pop them in the chat, and then perhaps I can look in the break and address any of those. Okay. The main thing for me to do on this really is direct your attention to the modular approach that we offered, that's on the slide now. So a modular route is only offered by Pearson at International GCSE. So we're the only exam board that offer that choice of linear routes or modular routes. If you're happy with the linear approach and you're doing that, there's no pressure to move to modular. The linear IGCSEs will continue to be offered. They're taken widely by students right around the world. So that's not going to change. However, if you believe that the modular route is one that will benefit your existing students, and actually, you know, what people are saying, it could help you to attract more prospective families to your school, we will support you in moving to this route for the selection of subjects that you do. Okay, so just quick look there, and these would be in the slides that you can download. You've got the choice of assessment routes. They contain the same, you know, modular and linear approach, doesn't matter. They contain the same content, just the modular approach breaks the journey really into 2 units. You get an exam at the end of each unit. So, you know, but if you're doing the modular and you're sitting paper 2, you'll still sit it at the same time that the linear paper 2 is sat. They're not sat at different times. Okay, and then, you know, just really quickly, they're more inclusive. We've really identified opportunities for more inclusive histories, and we've updated some of the language to remove any problematic terms. That will be taking place for first assessment next summer, but for teaching, we had all that sorted for September, for teaching from September 2023. We've got a greater choice and flexibility. There's no compulsory topics, no forbidden combinations. So you can choose areas of study that you're going to enjoy teaching and the ones that you know are going to engage your students. And we're designed for international students. We've ensured that our topic choices are diverse, international, they cover a broad geographical spread. And we've got some brand new topics. For those of you that are looking to teach something new, you know, have another look, see what else, you know, if you suddenly fancy teaching Japan or something, you know, new, it's worth having a look and see what else is on there. And then broaden and deepen development of student skills. Basically, the qualification aims to extend their knowledge and understanding by broadening and deepening their skills. I did go through quite a few examples last time. I'll just give one. So, for example, students are going to explain, they're going to analyse, make judgments about historical events and period studies, using those second-order historical concepts that you've already taught them in their earlier years, and they'll use a range of source material. And, you know, lots of other ways that we will broaden and deepen development of their skills. So that will be there for you to down. And also the Getting Started guide that I talked to you about last time goes into this a lot more detailed. So hopefully, for those of you that weren't here last time, I apologise for doing that really quickly, but I really wanted to get into the assessment. Just quick closer look at paper 1. So 2 depth studies from the following that are on the slide now. The most popular, I think, by far is Germany, followed by probably superpowers, USA, Russia. But all of them have got schools that are sitting them, and we have students from all of them, and the same with paper 2. I would say in the historical investigation, apart from East Germany, which is a smaller cohort, the others are pretty evenly spread out, really. And then in the breadth study, medicine is the big one there. But, you know, like I said just now, there's Japan, which we're seeing more schools take that up. China is a big one. But again, all of them have got, you know, quite a few schools now who are opting to do new and different things. So perfectly up to you. Just have a look and see what approach suits you, modular or linear, and you know, have a look and see what's going to work for you. And please reach out as well to your local representative if you've got any more questions on that, and want some help on that. Like I said, go and have a look at the schemes of work, go and have a look at the Getting Started guide, go and have a look at the course planners. They're really, really good. And then just a little bit there about resits for your IGCSE. So if you've got any questions on this, please go and talk to your local Pearson representative, and they will, you know, be more than happy to help you there. Okay, now the next few slides are exactly the same as I went through last time. I'm really just going to speed through this because you can ask your local representative if you have any specific questions. And also there is the recording of module 1 that you could go and have a look at. But the main thing on this is that there's no forbidden combinations, no compulsory topics. And we've ensured that everything is nice and diverse and international there. The question papers, as I'm sure you know now, are clear and straightforward. They're accessible for all students of all ability ranges, all learning styles. And as you're going to see today, the mark schemes are straightforward. The assessment requirements are really clear. Okay, and I'm sure you know about the grading, going from truly outstanding at 9, and it offers you the old grading to kind of, you can look at the old money there and see how that fits. And then there's just a bit there on, and that's really the last I'm going to sort of say on modular and linear. If you do have any questions that you know, a burning desire to know right now, pop it in the chat and I'll have a look in the break. But it's really, hopefully I've got across the fact that it's really flexible. You know, you've got, your learners have really got the opportunity to resit before they get their overall grade. Okay. Now, we will be looking in detail at these AOs, these assessment objectives today. So just make sure that, you know, you are aware of the assessment objectives. AO1, demonstrate knowledge and understanding of the key features and characteristics of the period studied. Your AO2 is your explanation and analysis of historical events and periods studied. This is using those second order historical concepts, those things, this is building on what they already have been learning in their history: change, continuity, causation, consequence, significance, similarity, and difference. So that's all addressed in AO2. AO3 is using a range of source material. So they will need to show comprehension, interpretation, cross-referencing. And AO4, analyze and evaluate interpretations in the context of historical events studied. I think I said I think I said to you last time, some teachers find it really useful to build that into the teaching and learning, and some don't. So that's, you know, that's purely down to you. I personally used to find perhaps the more able students benefited more from it, and perhaps the less able found it's kind of muddied the waters for them. But you will know your candidates and you will make the decision on that. So just sort of finishing off on exam papers there, about choosing your options. Go and have a good look at the Getting Started guide and really make a really informed decision on that if you still haven't decided. Because it's not just about teaching the content, is it? It's also integrating the skills and allowing your students to really further opportunity to develop the skills that they've already learned. So you'll need to make those decisions as a team in your school. Okay, so let's now go on and have a look at paper 1. Let's look at the paper 1 question types. So if we have a look, the exemplar questions that that we're going to have a look at are in your document pack. Have a look at that in a second. I will guide you when to go and have a look at that. I just wanted to point out at the bottom of the slide, exemplar materials. Really go and have a play around with those in your own time from the website, because you'll find those really helpful in your teaching, and you'll want to really incorporate that into your scheme of work. Okay. So the question structure is always the same. The emphasis is on the AOs, and make sure that you're very aware of the marks, when you're doing your practice marking in school. When we're doing some today, we need to be aware. Like I said, we're only going to look at levels today, but you need to know what the questions are out of. So the A question is focusing on AO4, and that is 6 marks. And we're going to look at some more of that, more into that in a second. B question is AO1 and AO2, and it's split evenly: AO1 4 marks, AO2 4 marks. And then the C question, AO1 is worth 7 marks and AO2 is worth 9 marks, and I'll go through how that's broken down for you. So let's just look at the A question. So if you turn to document 1 in your delegate book and have a look at extract C. So extract C is from a history of Germany published in 2000. At the end of 1922, French took the law into their own hands and occupied the Ruhr with Belgian support. French engineers, backed by 60,000 French and Belgian soldiers, were sent into the Ruhr to maintain the production of coal. The French and Belgian authorities arrested mine owners. They expelled Germans working in a number of non-essential industries from the area. French soldiers savagely beat German workers and even executed some of them. The whole of Germany was outraged by the occupation. I won't read them all out loud. I just did that just so everybody can get their delegate booklet ready and know where we are. So I think it's page 13. It is of mine, but I'm a bit loath to say that in case yours is slightly different. But it's basically document 1. And the question is on the slide here, what impression does the author give about the French occupation of the Ruhr? And you have to use extract C to explain your answer. I'll just let you have a quick read of that again. You probably recognize it from this year's exam, actually. Okay, now what I want you to do, I'm not going to give you any help. Without looking at the mark scheme, I want you to think about an impression mark of that candidate response in document 2. So it's in your delegate book, candidate response, document 2. Now, thinking about the points that we've already discussed with regards to AO4, just have a think what sort of response you consider this one to be. Is it strong, moderate, or weak? And just sort of note it down on your scale if you want to, what you think. Okay, so yeah, a few of you have actually said that you think it's a weak response. It is actually a weak response. It treats the extract like a source. It doesn't consider what the author is setting out to do. Okay, now document 3 is your mark scheme. I just want to spend a little bit of time looking at this. And you might just want to make some notes before we look at document 4. Just really wanted to have a look at just some thoughts on the mark scheme here. Now, just to remind you, I did say this last time, but just to remind you, you get the generic mark scheme, and then also you get the specific one for each question, which talks more about the type of things that the candidate would say. But you have to use the generic mark scheme when you're marking. So we'll just look at the generic mark scheme today, because that's the one that gives you the target, the AOs, and what we're looking for in the levels. So if you look at the mark scheme there, you can see it's AO4. We've already talked about that. analysing and evaluating historical interpretations in the context of historical events studied. So level 1 is just very straightforward, simple statements, or they might just paraphrase some of the source, but it will be very simple, basic statements. Level 2 is normally where they will say, it says this because it says this. So they are starting to engage, they're starting to infer an impression from the extract. So they will comprehend, they will start to analyze, and what the material they're using it typically will be, because it says this, is how they will do it. But I know you're all going to be more interested in the level 3, so let's have a look at that one. Okay, well, look, your level 3 answers are where they really start to consider why the author has selected what it's selected. So they'll talk about that the author has chosen to do it in a certain way. They'll look at what the author has focused on. They may talk about what the author has not mentioned. They don't have to use omission to get full marks at all, but they can do, and some of the really good answers often do. They can talk about the tone that the author is using. They can really look at what emphasis the author is given to certain suggestions that they're making, that the author is using language in a particular way. So there's some really good stuff that can get them into level 3, where they really start to engage with what the author has said, but it's really looking at why has the author chosen to select that. And they only need to give one impression as well. So just to clarify, level 3 answer, they need to consider how the impression has been created. So what's the overall impression they're getting, and why are they getting that? How has the author done that? Just on the omission, I mentioned the omission. I make sure that if your candidate talks about omission, they're actually relating it to the question, not just given a general statement of omission. Okay, so that, I think that's probably there. Have a go at, well, we've already done the document 2, and I've told you that was a weak answer. Have a look at document 4, that candidate response. Just see what level you think that would get into. So I pop that on the slide now. Yeah, and we're getting that. Thank you for those of you that have offered some suggestions there. Yeah, it is a level 3, and it is a strong response. And let's have a look at how it's focusing on language here. So it's telling us what impression is given, that it's unfair. The French took the law into their own hands. Suggests is a good word to use. And then we start to look at language, outraged savagely. And it really does explain the reason why they've got that impression. It addresses the author's selection and really looks at the content and the treatment of it. I'll just let you make some notes on that, and then we'll have a look at 1B. So I'll move on. If you were still making notes on the slide, apologies. You've got the doc pack anyway, so you can go back and have a look. If you turn to documents 5 to 7 in your delegate book, Kylie, everyone is a meanie when you're teaching, but I, as an examiner, I did say this last time, so I don't know whether you were with us last time, Kylie, but the best CPD you can do is do an examining, even if you just do it for 1 year, because you really learn, you know, how to mark these and what we're looking for. But you put your examiner hat on, and teacher marking is always a lot harsher because we want them to do better all the time. So don't beat yourself up about that. But I want to make sure you can understand why it's a level 3, because that was a good answer. So just make sure that you go back and you can really see, and go and have a look at the exemplars on the website. Fantastic. Yeah, you're honestly, I promise you, Kylie, you will really say, yeah, Jackie was right. Honestly, it will be great experience for you. And hopefully you'll carry on, you'll enjoy it. I'm still here. So goodness knows how many years later. Right, so if we can look at documents 5 to 7, and the question is on hyperinflation, so you can see it's again from the summer. Can you make sure, I just want to make sure, because I can't see your delegate pack. Apologies if you've got the wrong one, just make sure you've got the right one, because there was a typo on an earlier one. So I'm just going to, you would all know this anyway, so you would know that it was a mistake. Level 1 mark, 1 to 2. Level 2 mark, this is on document 5. Level 2 mark should say 3 to 5. And level 3 mark should say 6 to 8. So level 1, 1 to 2. Level 2, 3 to 5. Level 3, 6 to 8, please. Okay. Right. So the assessment objectives here are AO1, and it's split in half, 4 and 4. So AO1 is worth 4 marks. That's their knowledge and understanding. And AO2 is the explanation, analysis, and making judgments about what they've been learning. Okay. So without looking at the mark scheme, just provide an impression mark of the candidate response in Doc 6 in the delegate book. So it starts with hyperinflation came to Germany, that one. So have a think about what we said about AO1 and AO4 and AO2. And then just think what sort of response you would consider this to be. A few of you have popped in the chat. We're looking at document 6 at the moment. Yeah, some of you are considering the difference between, clearly there's a difference between document 6 and 7. So document 6 is a level 1 answer. This answer clearly shows here a misunderstanding of what the question is asking them. So what's required is an explanation of the effects of hyperinflation, whereas this answer is almost totally concerned with causes. The only consideration of consequences in that last line. So the answer would be marked at level 1 for just generalized information about the topic with a simple comment about consequence. Okay. So let's have a look then at that mark scheme. So what do we need to do? What do the candidates need to do to achieve those higher marks? And then you can have a look at a good answer, and we look at Doc 7. Now, even if the quality of the answer is excellent, if they only deal with one consequence, you can see clearly there, they will be stuck at 4 marks, no matter how good it is. Okay. To get into that level 3, they have got to show how it led to the outcome. So they need to be able to explain how the consequence led to the outcome. And then they'll support that with accurate and relevant information. So their knowledge and understanding needs to be good to back up what they're saying. Now, if we look at the marks in level 3, and you'll see a good example of this in a minute, actually. But so how do we get between 6 and 8? And I know I said to you, I just wanted you to go into a level, but I think this is important because 6, to get the 6 marks, you would use what we call a best fit situation. So it would be typically 1 would be a level 2 response and 1 would be a level 3 response. So if that's the case, that's where that 6 marks comes in. And like I said, we'll see an example of this in a minute. If both of them are level 3 responses, it has to be a minimum of 7 marks. But actually, it's more likely to be 8. It would be really weak to be a 7. So hopefully that clarifies that a little bit for you on that. Okay, so let's have a look then. If you can really study then Doc 7, I've told you, haven't I? I've given it away really that it's a level 3 answer. But have a look and see which paragraph is level 3 and which is level 2. Now, the extract here, is that all on there? Some of them with the, I've not put all of the document onto the slide, but I think that is actually, does it all go on there? No, it doesn't. You haven't got all of it. Sorry. So this, make sure that you're looking at the actual document in your pack more than the slide. You've just got the top bit on the slide because I couldn't get it all in. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to have a good read of that. So there are two separate consequences addressed in this answer. So that first paragraph that's on the slide there is a really well-constructed analysis of the consequences of hyperinflation in the longer term and how it led to the stated outcome, which is the fall of the Weimar. It's also supported with accurate and relevant information. It shows good knowledge and understanding of the characteristics of Nazi Germany. And both elements of the mark scheme in level 3 can be clearly seen in this answer. However, the second paragraph actually provides much less accurate and relevant information, and it doesn't link that information to a stated outcome. So that bottom paragraph in your documents would be a level 2. So that's why it would be marked at low level 3 for the reasons that I went through. So hopefully that's a nice one there for you to see how that works. Okay. Okay then, so if we turn to documents 8 and 9 in your delegate book, please. I'm going to focus on this question a bit longer than A and B because it's the extended answer. The statement questions, we've got an example on here, on the slide here. To get into level 4, they need evidence for and against. And they also have to go beyond the stimulant points that are given. So the question you've got here is about the main reason for Hitler becoming Chancellor. And it gives the stimulus points of the Enlightenment and taxation. But it tells them that they've got to use information of their own. Now, the assessment objectives. Document 8 is the generic mark scheme, but you will need to use the specific mark scheme for this as well, because that will be useful, and you'll see that in your mark schemes that I'm sure you've all got, where it will give you some nice examples of things that candidates can be saying, but you have to use the generic mark scheme to be marking these. So the AOs here are AO1, where they've got to show knowledge and understanding, and AO2, where they're explaining, analysing, and making judgments. Okay. So without looking at that now, put that mark scheme to one side. Just get an impression mark of Doc 9. So document 9 in your delegate book. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time here to have a good read through that. The stimulus points are the ones on the question on Doc 9. Are the stimulus points that were in, because it's a question from the summer. So they, which I marked, so they're definitely the stimulus points that were used. And that makes sense anyway, so. I'll give you a good 5 minutes for that because there's a bit to read there. And just, what's your impression of this? Is it a strong, moderate, or weak answer? You know, the delegate book is the one that we're working through. It's got all your documents in, and you've been sent the link for that. Yes, thank you, Edlene. Okay, one more minute, and then I'll go through. Hopefully you've picked up that this is a strong response. It's not perfect at all, and we'll look at why. But it is a strong response, and we'll go through the mark scheme. So if you can have your mark scheme ready as well, and we'll have a look. So if you look at your mark scheme there, I think it's pages 18 and 19 of the booklet. Level 1 answers are just simple generalized statements. They haven't got any development or organization, really limited knowledge of the topic. These are very basic poor responses in level 1, and typically would get, you know, a mark for the points that they make up to level 4, and then depend, you know, it wouldn't matter how many basic statements they made, they would stay in the level 1. Level 2 answers typically are ones that they know some stuff, you know. It might be that it's not that relevant, it's not that focused, but they do know some stuff they want to tell you, and it is accurate on the whole, but there's no focus, and the relevance is not clear. That would be typically your level 2 answers. Now, level 3 answers. They're not always sustained, but they do give a clear explanation, and they show some analysis. Now, this is where you want to sort of look at your level 3 and your level 4, because the explanation in the level 3 can kind of move, you know, their line of argument can dip in and out. It's not consistent. It will wander into description. in level 3. And the knowledge they give is good. Now for level 3, it doesn't have to be perfect or wide-ranging. It has to be accurate and relevant. So don't be looking for perfection in level 3. Your level 4 answers have to address 3 aspects. Otherwise, they're stuck at level 3. So your level 4 answers are analytical and they're consistently directed at the question. So the line of reasoning is sustained. You know, they're answering the question throughout their answer. Now, this accurate and relevant information. Underline that word precisely selected, because it's showing how what they've chosen to talk about relates to the answer that they're given. Now, the criteria bullet point in level 4, quite often we will see it tagged on at the end, and if it's there, it's there. That's fine. But, you know, it can be somewhere within the answer, as long as it is there, either during the answer or at the end. It's really you know, they've got to get across this notion of it was this rather than that, because that's really what we're looking for there. So they don't have to use the bullet points. I'm just sort of thinking about some questions that have come up before. They don't have to use the bullet points. They're there to help them, but they can just, you know, come up with their own. Not very often you would see that. Normally they will use, even the really good answers will use at least one of the bullet points. I'm talking about level 4 answers now. I think let's have a look at this particular one in Doc 9. I see a few comments coming through in the chat. I've not had time to read it. Oh, it's just about tech anyway, so that's fine. Let's just have a look here at this document 9. Now, I'm not going to read it. Obviously, you've read it all yourself there anyway. This is well argued. I mean, obviously, it's only an extract on the screen there, so you want to be looking at your one in the delegate pack there. So we're looking for 3 aspects of content, which it does. It addresses 3 aspects of content. It provides an analytical explanation of the reasons why Hitler became chancellor. It's coherent and it has a sustained line of argument, and that is supported by accurate and relevant information. So this answer does address the question directly, and there is a judgment provided. Now, I know a few of you have said that you'd like it to be better. Yes, it is a low level 4 answer, because we would want to see the justification for the judgment to be further developed. We would want the criteria to be made clear. So enabled all the other factors to become influential. The bit about the depression, increase the impact, fear. So we would want really that to be further developed. It needs further work to justify the judgment. And actually, if we look at the knowledge, I think there is some lack of depth of knowledge when dealing with Hitler's appointment. And because of those reasons, it wouldn't get full marks, but there is enough there to get that into level 4. So I'll just let you make some notes there. And then what we'll do, we'll go over some characteristics. I mean, I'm talking too much, so I'm aware of the time as well, guys, so I don't want to. Okay, so that is everything that we're going to do there on paper 1. I'm going to just go through a quick breakdown of strong and weak responses. So this is nice and handy for you for 1C. If we have a look here, what you need to consider really when you're marking answers, and also there's some nice pointers really when you're looking for the difference between low level and high level answers. So your strong responses, your level 3 and your level 4, they need to go beyond the stimulus points. They need to be analytical, and what they're saying needs to have supporting knowledge. And the judgment needs to be clearly provided, not just repetition. And then you can see the weaker ones here, that you know, treating the extract as a source is something that we would, you know, in the summer we saw some of the weaker answers doing that. Not looking at alternative views as well, and not using really the extracts and the sources appropriately, treating the extract as a source, that sort of thing. Okay. So someone has said, Philippe said, how much evidence per paragraph is a good guideline? Well, you know what? If you think about the what you need to do to get into that level 4, it needs to be precise. So what we're actually looking for is not loads and loads of information. What we're looking for is them making that nice analytical point backed up by precise knowledge. So really, if so we need 3 aspects of content. If we're looking at perhaps 2 to 3 really good points per one, they could nail it on that. Right, so we're going to take a 5-minute break. So I will see you back in 5 minutes, and we will go on to paper 2. So if you haven't had time to download the document pack, just hopefully you'll have time to do that, but obviously go and grab yourself a drink as well if you need to, and I'll see you in 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay. Right, so paper 2, investigation and breadth studies. So the question structure is always the same. You've got the link there. When you go and look at this PowerPoint later on, you can click on the link to go to the exemplar materials, and then just, you know, those sample assessment materials, just save them then, and use in your teaching and learning. I really recommend that. So like I said, the question structure is always the same, and I'm just going to go over again the importance of the emphasis on the assessment objectives. And we've got the 1A, this is the 2 features. And AO1. The B question is looking at sources. So AO3. And then the C question is where you've got your extract and the sources, and they use their own knowledge. So AO3, 10 marks, AO4, 6 marks. And make sure, you know, that you're building that into your teaching and learning. I'm sure you do. But you know, you need to be very clear on what the examiners are looking for in each specific question. So if we look at questions 1A in your delegate booklet, we are looking at document 10 and 11. Now, document 10 is your generic level mark scheme for section A, question A. So like I said, that's AO1. Demonstrate knowledge and understanding of the key features. So just have a little look there at your mark scheme. I just want to go over and highlight just a few things. The examiners, the first thing they will do is look and see if there are 2 features, because the question is asking for 2 features. So, you know, does it have 2 features? So that's very clear. And if there's only one, no matter how good it is, they're only going to get 3 marks. So that, you know, tell your candidates, please, tell your students, please make sure they write about 2. Obviously the level 1 is the simple, the comment is valid, but it's just a simple statement. There's no supporting information, or if there is, it is extremely limited. So your level 2 answers, you know, is really here looking for what, you know, basically what they're saying. So have they identified a feature, and are they giving information about it? To get into the level 3, they're going to need to have, like I said, they're going to need to have the 2 features. Now, that kind of, I won't go too much into the kind of best fit with the 5 to 6 there, but basically, if they want to get more than 4 marks, they've got to have the 2 features. And to get into level 3, yes, okay, so they've got 2 features. Is there you know, you need to be telling your candidates to provide enough information. They don't need to be writing loads, it's a 6 marker, but actually, are they given enough information to support what they're saying, or is it limited? This question is looking for good knowledge and understanding. So for the level 3, well, they could have a level 3 feature and a level 1 feature, and still get 5 marks, because that's what I'm saying, you know, tell your students, please do the 2, because they could have a level 3 feature and be stuck at 3 marks if they don't do another one. But even if they just did you know, their mind's gone blank and they just did a simple statement, they could still get the 5 marks. So that's the important there. They've got to do them both really well to get the 6 marks. They've got to show that good knowledge and understanding for both of them to get the 6 marks. Okay, have a look. Without, now put your mark scheme to one side and just get an impression mark for document 11. This is about key features of the building of the Berlin Wall. So just have a think about what we talked about in regards to AO1, and just think, you know, is this strong, moderate, or weak? Now, don't forget it is a 6 marker. The knowledge and understanding has to be good. It doesn't need to be loads of it, but it does, you know, it needs to just be accurate stuff. So, you know, thinking about what we saw that was done well in the summer, really, it's they just need to perhaps write accurate detail. They don't need to be writing loads. They certainly don't want to be spending too long on this at all. So factual, relevant information and 2 features. So looking at Doc 11, that's the one that starts on the 12th of August. There. Hopefully you've written down what you think about this. This answer would be marked, I probably gave it away, but it would be marked at a level 3. It's all that's needed. So we're looking for AO1. So all we want is information about features and characteristics of the period. So we don't need reasons for, we don't need consequences. We're not looking for any of that. And time is wasted, you know, if we're given that. We are looking for information. We're looking for features and characteristics. So this would be marked at level 3. We'll look. Yeah. And I think I've put it on the screen now there that you can see. Some of you might have marked the answer lower than level 3. So just be aware that this is all that's needed for this 6-mark question, as long as it's accurate and relevant. Okay. Right, let's have a look at paper 2, section A, look at the question B. So if you have a look at the question B, if you turn to documents 12, 13 and 14, so 12 is the generic level mark scheme. And document 13 are the sources. So let's just have a look at that for a second here. So you're going to need to know these sources. You'll tell your students they really need to know the sources to be able to answer the question. So we talk through the mark scheme first. So if you have a look, I'll just give you a minute to have a look at your mark scheme there. So they have to know what's in the sources to be able to answer this. Level 1, we're back to our simple statements. Source A says this, source B says this, typically is what we would see there. We get lots of level 2 answers for this question. It says in the mark scheme, both agreement and disagreement has to be identified. I mean, that can be a difference. So, you know, do explain to them they're not looking for it to specifically or necessarily disagree. It could be what is different. So both agreement and disagreement or difference must be identified to get the 5 marks in the level 2. Otherwise, they would stick at 4 marks. So like I said, we saw lots of level 2, but this summer we were seeing lots more level 3. these are the ones that, for example, would say partially agree because. So they're, you know, they're really explaining what they're saying. So we're looking for agreement, we're looking for a difference, then we're looking for that consideration of the extent of the agreement or the difference. They've got to do that to get the level 3. So it could be something that as well that the other source doesn't mention. So that could be something that could get them marks as well. But really, when you're looking at considering the extent, you really do want to have direct disagreement there. Okay. So I think that's really showing what we need for that B. Let's have a look at actually looking at one. So if you look at well, I'll give you a minute. I'm not sure if I gave you time there to look at the sources. So we've got sources A and B. Source A is from the diary of a white commander, written during the Civil War. And source B was written later, 1945, writing about the Civil War. So make sure you read those first. And then can you have a look at Doc 14, the candidate response, document 14? It starts, I don't think source A really supports. So it's that one. So have a think about what we just said about the mark scheme, about AO3. Think about the fact that, you know, they've got to be writing about these sources. And then think, you know, is this a strong, moderate, or weak answer? I'll just give you one more minute because I know some of you have got to read the sources as well again. So just give you a minute. Okay, so hopefully, I'll just quickly look in the chat, but this was a nice, strong answer. But yeah. So we've got some strongs, we've got some moderates. It is a strong answer. So you can see now, if you are being a bit of a meanie, I get it. I understand why. But this is what they need to do to get into that level 3. It's a strong answer. It explains agreement and disagreement between the two sources. It's using material from, I think I've got. There we go. So Doc 14, I've put on the slide there. So yeah, so a strong answer. It explains agreement and disagreement between the two sources. It uses material from the sources to support the comparison that it's making. And it considers the extent of agreement and disagreements. It would be marked at level 3. So this is probably one from the summer. So it would be marked at level 3. It's got an explained evaluation of the extent of support. It's cross-referencing between the sources and reasoning to support the explanation. This is a nice level 3. So it's a nice example for you to use when you're marking your students' work now, and being able to feed back there to them. Before we go on to the C question, something that I just thought of, you might want to consider when you're teaching source analysis is that the source is going to provide your students with information. So actually, if they're a bit stuck about the deeper context, they can analyze without knowing that. So, you know, really encourage them to write about inferences and suggestions, even if they're not feeling confident with the context, because then they're going to have a chance of getting into the level 2 at least. Okay, let's have a look at question C. If we can turn to documents 15, 16 and 17. So question here is study extract C. Extract C suggests that the main reason for the Bolshevik victory in the Civil War was the weakness of the whites. And then they're asked how far they agree with this interpretation. They're told they've got to use extract C and sources A and B and their own knowledge to explain their answer. So this is AO3, 10 marks, AO4, 6 marks. So let's have a look then, first of all, at the generic level mark scheme. Okay, so that level 1, just you know, your simple comments, very limited analysis, just very generalized weak answers in the level 1. Building on that a little bit, you'll go into your level 2. It's still not going to be very good stuff. There will be some analysis. So you need to, for the level 2, be looking at how well they're using the material. And if not very well, it's probably going to be level 2. But your level 3 is basically showing the examiner what they know about it. So that third bullet point, the relevant contextual knowledge, they've got to use that to support what they're saying. So they're showing that they know this stuff, but it needs to, in the level 3, support what they're saying. And then the level 2, it wouldn't have done that. So that's quite a nice differentiator there, really. The level 3, sorry, the level 4, which I think goes on to the next page there. Okay. A couple of things to just highlight here. The first bullet point, answer provides an explained evaluation. You know, really highlight that bit, reviewing alternative views. So they've got to have a good balance here. They've got to look at the different sides. Then in the next bullet point, we've got our friend precise. So they've got to really, we're not looking at them downloading everything they know, but they've just got to really precisely pick out bits from the sources in the extract and show how they're coming to the point that they're making. And how are they using that? How are they using the material to support what they're saying? So they've got to do a lot of stuff in level 4. Again, that word precise comes out in the contextual knowledge, and is probably more important in that bit because, you know, there's a lot they could say. Why are they choosing what they're saying? So they've really got to show why they've chosen that knowledge. Why are they using that? And they need to, you know, precisely use it to support what they're saying, you know, the evaluation that they're making. And then if we look at the judgment, again, that judgment doesn't have to be tagged on at the end. We often see it there. We see it at the beginning sometimes, but it can be within, you know, it can be anywhere in the script, really. The better scripts, as a tip, are the ones that kind of do it throughout as they go along, really. Okay, so that's my thoughts on the mark scheme there for you. Let's have a look at document 16 in your booklet, because that's the extract that you need. You've looked at the sources already. So just have a read of extract C. I'll give you a minute to just read that. And then, you know, put the mark scheme to one side for now. Just get an impression of document 17, which is the candidate response in your delegate book. So again, thinking about what we said about AO3 and AO4 here, is this a strong, moderate, or weak answer? Just have a look there. So hopefully we've seen that's a nice strong answer. Now use the mark scheme. We've looked at what they've got to do to get beyond a level 2. So have a go. Have a go at deciding where. Now, I know that there's lots of strands here, so it's like, you know, and you know, if you've not examined before, you might wonder about best fit, but for the strands we would look at the different levels for the bullet points. So but for this one it's not going to be as complicated as this, because this is a nice, you know, strong kind of level 4 answer. I've given it away again, haven't I? But have a look. I've only taken a bit of the, because obviously I can't get it all on this page there. I'll give you some time. I'll give you a good 5 minutes to just have a read through that, look at your mark scheme, and then I'll go through some comments on why this is a good, you know, good answer. So you're looking for the arguments it's given. You're looking at how it uses the material. You're looking for, you know, them using their contextual knowledge, looking at the judgment. And so, you know, look at the bullet points within that level 4, and you know, just see. Oh, well done, Kylie. You're being a bit more generous now. Sorry, I'm only teasing, but yes. In fact, I mean, I've just put it in the level for you, but No, but like I said earlier on, Kylie, I totally get that, because with your teacher hat on, you always want them to do better, don't you? So I totally get that. Oh, somebody's asking about using the sources. Well, Linda, if they didn't, they're going to be stuck, aren't they? If you look at the bullet points lower down, they're really going to be stuck in level 1 or level 2 if they're not using them, because the whole point is about analyzing the sources. So they are going, and a balanced answer. So they have got to use them. So it would be a weak answer if they didn't use them, because the whole point is that they're using the sources to back up what they're saying. So if you look at the marks, it would probably be a level 1 if they only used one source. Possibly, it depends how well they're using the material for the level 2, but it would be but if you look at that first bullet point, the answers offer a valid comment to agree with or counter the interpretation. So they've got to be using the interpretation anyway. Otherwise, they're not going to get into that level. Some analysis is shown in selecting and including details from the provided materials. So it's how well they're using the sources. So if they're not using a source, they're going to be quite low down in the level 2. Okay, so hopefully that helped, Linda, with that one. I might be missing some. I can only just see the chat now and then as it comes along there. Yes, Philippe, it would be a high level 4. So just a couple more minutes, then okay. So an examiner would comment on this by saying something along the lines of that the answer is evaluating arguments for and against the interpretation. It's using both the material provided and contextual knowledge in coming to that overall judgment. It matches the criteria set out in all 4 bullet points for level 4. So the answer would be marked at a high level 4, because if it's level 4 for all 4 bullet points, really it should just go in straight at the top of that level. There really shouldn't be a reason to bring it down. It's reviewing alternative views. It's got that precise analysis of the sources and the extract. It's selecting relevant contextual knowledge, and we've got that overall judgment made and justified. So yeah, this is a good example here of a very good answer. Okay, right, so we're on to paper 2, question types in section B. So we've got The A question explained two ways in which, so we're looking for AO1 and AO2, with the stronger leaning on the AO2. The B question explained two causes, and that's split evenly, AO1 4 marks, AO2 4 marks. And the C question, how far or how significant. So they will have two stimulus points, but they are expected to use information of their own. So AO1 on the C question is 7 marks, with AO2 9 marks. So again, I know I'm banging a drum on this, but seriously, it's so worth it. The exemplar materials. So click on that link on your download when, you know, in your own time. I don't do it now because I wouldn't want you taken out of the meeting. Okay. If we have a look at the 1A question. So documents 18 and 19, please, in your delegate booklets. We're looking at the medicine for examples here. Explain two ways in which surgery, so this is from the summer, in 1848 was different from surgery in 1905. Okay, let's have a look at the mark scheme here. So again, are there two? That's really the first thing an examiner would look at, because no matter you have to, the students have to answer the question, and it's asking them to explain two ways it was different. If they only deal with one, they're going to be stuck at that 3 marks. Okay, level 1, your simple statements about something that was the same or something that was different, very generalized information there. They really don't know, very limited knowledge and understanding. For the level 2 answers, they are explaining something that was similar or something that was different by using specific information to support what they're saying. So, you know, it was like this, and then it was like that. So, for the level 3, they need to make explicit comparisons. So, and also the information needs to be very specific in what they're using to support. Okay. But they don't need to say why here. They just need to say what was different in this example, or what was the same if it's about similarity. So this is different than the support from both periods. So if they've said what was different and given support from both periods, they've done what they need to do. Okay, so that's the mark scheme for question A. There. Document 19. Get an overall impression here of whether you think it's strong, moderate, or weak. That's the one that starts surgery improved in the years. Have a look and see what you think there. Yeah, we've got a few moderates there. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we're getting that. So using the mark scheme that we just went through, have a go at marking 19 and 20. So at 19 and 20, I'll give you 5 minutes. Have a go at marking those. And then I will go through them with you. Have a think about which answer is stronger and why you think that. So hopefully you've spotted that document 20 is the stronger answer. Which we see we seem to have. So yeah, don't worry, just you'll be able to go through it in your own time. You know, that's the beauty of having it. And you'll be able to sort of save it and have a look. So if we look at document 19, first of all, so what have we got here? This is the answer. Surgery improved in the years 1848 to 1905. Firstly, the problems of pain was solved. That one. So it's quite handy here actually to look at a level 2, because it can be useful for you to see how no explicit comparisons have impacted this answer. So this would be a level 2. It has explained 2 differences: solving the problems of pain, lowering the death rate from infection, and has provided specific information about the topics to support that. However, there's no explicit comparisons supported by specific information from both periods. So it's going to be level 2 for both AOs, for explaining differences with some specific support. That's why that would get level 2. So the document 20, which I can put on the slide for you here. I think you've got it all there. I don't think I cut any off. Okay. This answer clearly explains differences between 1848 and 1905 by looking at 2 key areas. So it's looking at anesthetics and antiseptics. Explicit comparisons are made, and they're using specific information from both periods to support those comparisons. So for both strands, it's going to get into the level 3. So that's why document 20 is the stronger one. So you've got the reasons why there. Okay, let's go on to B. Have a look at documents 21 and 22. That's your generic mark scheme for the B question. So hopefully these questions are becoming familiar with you now as you're starting to teach them. But 2 causes of improvements in public health. if we look at the mark scheme, so again, it's about reading the question, highlighting that two. They need to be, but you know, that's what the examiner will look for. Are there two? So if they're not, it's going to be stuck. So what do we need to do here? Level 1 is going to be simple, generalized information. Level 2 is specific information. So level 1 is your generalized, level 2 is your specific, what it is. And like I said, it's going to be a maximum of 4 marks if they only use one cause. They can't get into level 3 if they only use one cause. So really, you know, drill that home to them. Level 3, they need to show why it makes the outcome happen. So the assessment objectives are split evenly. Have a look at document 22 and the candidate response. The reasons why there was an improvement. It starts. And see what you think, strong, moderate, or weak. You're looking for, is it explaining the causes clearly? Is it providing detailed, specific information to support it? If it is, it's level 3. So hopefully you can see in this one, yes, it is. It clearly explains 2 causes. And it provides detailed, specific information to support the analysis. So it'd get level 3 for both assessment objectives, for analysing features of the period, to explain how the causes led to the outcomes of better public health. And it provides accurate and relevant information to support that. Okay. So last one, question 1C. If we have a look, please, at documents 23 and 24. We just look at 23 for a minute. This is the generic mark scheme. So have a look at that. You just get your generic mark scheme and I'll go over that. So it is if you remember, I said there was a typo, so you just need to change that. So just make sure the typo in there. So just make sure you've got the right marks for the levels. Okay, so let's just go over some general points on the C question. So if we look, I know you're keen to look at the higher levels here, but the level 1, simple statements, very limited knowledge. They don't really know an awful lot. Level 2, they are starting to give some basic information that is relevant. Whereas level 1, it's going to be very limited and not relevant. And for the levels for question C, you've got, you're stymied at 6 marks in level 2 if they don't address 3 aspects. And then the same in level 3 and level 4, and it's on your mark scheme. So if they don't address the three aspects, they are stymied in the middle of those marks, in the middle of those levels. So the level 3 is where they're going to tell you why. They are explaining with some analysis. It might lack a little bit of coherence and organization, but the information is accurate and relevant. They've got good knowledge and understanding. But it's not like the level 4, which is a lot more accurate and precise. That word precise there, it's what they're choosing to talk about, not telling everything they know, but they're choosing to talk about something specific. And they're using their contextual knowledge to explain why they think that. And then that last bullet point in level 4 is about that criteria. It's this, not that. And you could have that woven in. Some really good answers will weave that in and out. But it can still be tagged on the end, and we will see that tagged on the end. But as long as it's there, but it is nice. It's a good practice to perhaps try and teach your really able candidates to weave it through the essay. Okay, so this is another example from the medicine question. How far did the role of women in medicine change? So can you have a look at document 24? And just let you just have a read of that. So just have a quick look at that. And considering what we talked about, what do you think for the different strands? What level would you give this? Because it's in different levels for some of the strands. There's my tip for you on that. Pop that. You don't need to give an actual number, just give a level for each of the strands. But if you want to, you can have a go, but just try and do a different level for each of the bullet points that are in there. Yeah, I'll give you one more minute. Someone's asking about criteria. So you would typically see this in the higher level ones where they're saying why this was more important than that was more important, and they're given the reasons for that. Okay, so this answer has provided an explanation of the change that occurred in the role of women as a result of the work of Florence Nightingale and Elizabeth Garrett. We do get some of the answer drifting into analysis of causation rather than analysis of change. So that is an issue for it. There is accurate and relevant knowledge about the work of both women, but it doesn't actually address how far that extent of change was. So the answer fails to recognize the limitations in the changes in the role of women. So this understanding of the feature of the period's missing. And what that does, that makes the judgment they've given, where they said that there were important changes, it's actually insecure now because of that. So for both strands, one, it would get level, so let me have a look at this. The answer is going to be marked at level 3. And for AO2 and for AO1, but actually for the third strand, it's only going to get a level 2. So if you look at that, what I mean by strands are those bullet points. So what we've got here is a level 3 and 2 level 2. So because it has reached level 3 for one of them, we do what's called a best fit, which means that it has hit in level 3, but actually it's just got into level 3. So it's got level 2 for everything, and then it's just snuck in to level 3 for one of those bullet points. So we're looking really at a mark there, the first couple of marks within level 3. You couldn't justify any more than that. I am aware of the time now. Now, you've got some characteristics there of candidate responses as well for strong and weaker ones. But I did just quickly want to, and we did this last time, so if you didn't attend the first module, just have a good look at this. But basically what I went through on the next few slides is basically the support that you're going to get from Pearson as you're teaching this. So this breaks down everything that you will get help. So all of these free resources and supports there are to help you. And then there's lots of materials online. And last time I did sort of click on these links and show people, you really do need to go and have a good look at the getting started guide, look at the specification, look at the sample assessment materials. And if you've got any questions, Mark Batty's information is here to help you as well. So there are lots of resources available on the website. So please do go and have a good look around there. There's loads of teaching and learning materials. There's more exemplars, there's lesson plans, course plans, there's loads of stuff. And we're continually adding there for you as well to that bank of material. Go and have a good look in there at the end of the PowerPoint about all the information you get on post results, results plus. I went into this in great detail in our last training, so go back and look at that module and go through it, because I haven't got time today to do that. But please go and have a look at that, and that you can see there you've got Exam Wizard, you've got access to the scripts, there's resources, and then there's Mark's details there as well. And there's a community for history teachers to help you as well. Sorry, that was slightly rushed at the end there. And I've really enjoyed that. I hope you've got lots of information. I'm sure that you've got lots of questions as well. I'm sorry we can't go through questions today, but please, you can always email or live chat on the Pearson website. Ask your local representative as well. And please sign up for Mark's updates as well. Okay, and good luck. And I hope to see some of you as examiners next summer. I'll be looking out. So Yeah, so Philip's asked for more sample student responses. Go onto the website. There's loads of sample assessment materials there as well with student responses that you can see. Look at the great Get Started guide as well. So hopefully have a good look around there. So they typically, Linda, do the more common ones. To be fair, you might not see them for everyone. Thank you, Daisy. Thank you very much, everybody, and good luck. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.